As the healthcare industry moves towards value-based care, one of the most important considerations is risk adjustment. And accurately risk adjusting patients relies on hierarchical condition categories, HCC. Here to speak with me about HCC and why it's so important today is Matt Cady from Adult Medicine of Lake County. Matt, thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
So Matt, tell us a little bit about the role of HCC in healthcare today and what kinds of practices need to pay attention to that right now.
Right now, we're seeing it kind of be all practices. And the reason being is we're heavily graded on the over 65 Medicare population, our capitated patients. But we've already started to see indicators that other payers are going to require us to do it across the spectrum of demographics. So as a practice, we now have implemented HCC coding for all patient encounters. Utilizing the dashboard, we're able to track it. And the reason being is we never want to put the provider in a position of did they need to or did they not to. So we have forced the habit with all of them to everybody is HCC coded to the highest specificity possible.
So standardizing that workflow, no matter what patients you're seeing, seems to make it easier for your doctors. Now, is this something that is mostly important in an ACO, or do you also need to pay attention to it outside of an ACO?
I would say until just recently, it was probably more ACO focused in the managed care, but just recently we've had Cigna reach out and they are actually asking us to go through their full panel. So as a practice, like I said, we've now implemented it across all patient care.
Now, HCC, as you said, relies very heavily on specificity of coding. But the other challenge with HCC is that you don't just have to code those once and forget about it. You have to recapture those codes each and every year. So what is the risk for providers who aren't paying as much attention to this, for people who don't recapture those codes each and every year?
On the larger level, you're not informing the payer of the condition of the patient. The way that would translate down to the practice is the practice may not be allocated enough money to take care of that patient accurately. So if we don't accurately tell the payer what we're encountering here, they don't know how to accurately budget for that patient, in which case the practice could suffer a serious decline in revenue, and with managed care actually be put into possibly a deficit by not accurately reporting the conditions.
Is there a chance for people who are behind to catch up, or is it like once that time period is passed, you're not able to rectify that?
Most of the time, you're going to have to capture it twice a year, and really we look at HCC as a trend. Once the practice is ingrained in it and doing it, you should see the nice trend upwards. It's not something where you can just have them come in for a quick visit and code. It's really something that's got to go company wide, and you have to have full staff buy-in on it.
What are some of the biggest challenges to using HCC or succeeding with HCC?
Probably visibility into things that we don't know about, maybe something that a specialty is treating that we are unaware of, or really just getting through all of the different specificities in a timely fashion. So,
are there any things that eClinicalWorks is offering that help you gain some of that visibility?
Both, you've addressed both of them. The first one was the interoperability. In using that, we're actually able to see what are coded and are on the problem list at other practices. And that's been huge. So we may have sent a referral over and you've uncovered something else and are now treating it, but we need to accurately report that to the payer also. And we've actually seen this in two forms. One form is you may treat somebody for a condition we were unaware of, and the payer will reach out to us to confirm that you actually have that because we've not reported it. We've seen a severe drop off in those because now we're seeing what our specialties are coding. The other problem we've run into is if we don't code accurately, the specialty is going to treat the patient and it won't be reflected in the monetary. And so then the issue arises that the patient is what we call a deficit with a managed care plan. So it's very, very critical that the primary care provider accurately reports all the conditions to the highest level.
That's really interesting too, because I've heard a lot of practices say they get these regular reports, or somebody comes in from the insurance company and says, here's a list of codes that we want you to, look into. Mm-hmm. And you're saying this is coming because maybe they see that from the specialist, not in your side, and now your office is having to spend time rectifying that or
Correct.
Reconciling that information. And by using interoperability along with this HCC mindset, maybe you're actually reducing the amount of work you have to do overall and not playing as much catch up, so you can focus on patients who are there in front of you.
Absolutely. And the other thing, just to touch on that, is we've actually found specialties that have miscoded things. And by using the interoperability, we were able to reach out to them and say, hey, we need you to double check this. This is not what we're seeing. And we were able to collaborate on actually that patient's condition.
So how has the eClinicalWorks HCC module helped you to overcome some of those hurdles?
One of the biggest ones is for the fact that every year we have to patients start at zero again. So by using the gaps, we're able to see what we coded last time instead of having to use the IMO search every single time with that patient. The other one really neat feature is to be able to real-time calculate the RAF score. that has been such a valuable tool because it lets us know if we're higher than lower than last year. For some reason, if we're lower, it's going to tell us we've missed a code. If we're higher, we know we're trending in the right direction as long as the patient care is right. So it really gives us everything we need right at the assessment screen, which is at the point of care.
So providers often worry about changes in their workflows. How did you get your providers to buy into using this HCC module to keep up with these codes?
It was actually relatively easy for us because of being in Florida with a heavily Medicare population. Our ACO was basically demanding we got better at HCC coding. And what we lacked was a tool. We had the faxes that came in on a daily basis, like you mentioned, with codes that other people and that they had suggested, but we really lacked something at the point of care to be able to do it. And in using this, the doctors knew they had to, and it gave them a tool that was very easy to use. Right there in the assessment screen, they're able to see the gap list and calculate the RAF score in real time, which is almost a confirmation that we did good or the possibility that something was missed.
Now, you mentioned playing catch up, and I know that sometimes late in the year, maybe August, September, something like that, groups get a list of all these codes that they haven't recaptured and things like that. Now they have to scramble to get patients into the office. How has the HCC tool from eClinicalWorks changed that for you?
Like I said earlier, it's a trend. So we start the year trying to be on the right trend. Being in Florida, we have a huge snowbird population. So I don't always have the ability to play catch up at the end of the year because you may not be here at the end of the year. So one of the most important things for us is we have to capture it at every visit. And so putting that gap list right there at the point of care assured that I can make every visit count and can avoid the catch up game and the massive fax inbox.
eClinicalWorks also includes a dashboard with the HCC tool. What types of information do you see on that dashboard, and how does that help you manage your patient population?
So Monday at lunchtime, we have a provider meeting, and we actually use the dashboard as a teaching tool. We're able to see all 6 providers on the dashboard, and it gives us a good line of trends if we're trending up or down. And we can do is to compare against their peers and then also prior encounters with that patient. And it tells us if we're either doing a good job or maybe if we need to do some retraining with one of our providers.
And Matt, with all this information about HCC, where do you suggest providers or practices start if they want to be successful with it?
Again, it's such a small impact on workflow. It's really going into 2019 and by 2020, it's almost a necessity. I would say activate it and just start looking for the blue gaps button under the assessment screen. It's there and it's incredibly easy to use.
Matt, thank you so much for your time here today to explain the importance of HCC and how you can be successful with that. If you'd like to learn more about the eClinicalWorks HCC module, you can check out some information on my.eclinicalworks.com or get in touch with your strategic account manager. You can also check out our other eClinicalWorks podcast episodes on iTunes, YouTube, or my.eclinicalworks.com. For the eClinicalWorks podcast, I'm Adam Salati. Thanks for watching.